Well, hello everyone, and you've been sort of listening to me most of the morning, and you know that we're broadcasting live at the nationwide marketing group show called PrimeTime, and I've been talking about these interviews. Up until now, you've only sort of seen or heard me, and joining me right now is Bob Lapointe, and he is the president and the founder, of course, of Tailbase. So Bob, maybe you could just tell us really quickly in your own words what Tailbase is.
Well, we call ourselves a digital marketing company, but our core competence is to produce full, rich catalog websites to the retail industry. When I say retail, I'm focusing on the furniture space, the major appliance space, consumer electronics, and the bedding industry.
Right.
We do a lot more, but not as core categories. So it's a full turnkey process. We're constantly innovating with new features and pushing the envelope in that space, because the web is not, as you know, a status quo environment.
Sure, of course, it's always evolving. It's always evolving. So essentially what Bob does is you go to one of his websites of one of his clients, and you'll see a beautiful website homepage and so on and so forth, but you'll also see complete catalogs.
Right.
So say for the sake of argument, if the business was a retailer of Whirlpool, and we've been showing them some of the product,
right,
essentially what you'd be able to see is you'd be able to click on their entire digital, the complete line.
Complete line. And more than that, you would be able, if there are multiple lines, if they carry GE and KitchenAid, they would be able, the consumer, to look at all those catalogs,
right,
compare the features between the different product catalogs,
right,
and make their own value appraisal of what they want. So it's same on the furniture. So, wide furniture catalogs, I don't care how big the biggest store in the world is.
Right.
You can have pretty much unlimited content on the website. Not that that's a good practice, but
sure.
But in essence, the consumer today is empowered. He's got choice, right? A big part of that choice comes from digital. So, we're excited to participate in that space.
Right.
It's a growing space.
Oh, of course it is. And I think too, you also have an e-commerce capacity to this. So should the store website decide that they want to actually sell something online, and by extension either have someone come to the store and pick it up or ship it, they can also do that.
I'm glad you said should, because they all should.
They should.
Right. Someone in the presentation yesterday was saying, what do we need to do to be digital? And the answer of that gentleman was participate.
Right.
Get a website. Start your e-commerce. It is a learning curve. It's not, you're not going to become Amazon overnight.
Sure.
Probably not in the next few nights.
Right.
But you need to look at e-commerce in a local dimension. So consumers today are comfortable in shopping online.
Sure, of course.
I mean, so it's important that retailers start to understand that that's a big part of their future. I mean, the last consensus that came out in February, the Federal Bureau, 7.5% of the last quarter sales in 2015 were online, of all sales.
Right.
So, and that's going to be 8.8% of sales in 2016. So it's
and it will only grow and grow and grow. It's not going to go backwards.
And mobile is such an important part of it today, where 50% more or less of all traffic is coming on some sort of a mobile device.
Right.
So it's not good enough to have a website. Now it's got to be that responsive design where it gives that user that great experience no matter what device is on.
Right, of course.
And we can carry that further, so now you're starting to see digital devices in store, interactive touchscreens, expanded catalogs.
Right.
So you might go into a furniture store and look at 10 dining room sets, but there's 200 more on that digital device.
Right.
So consumers don't have to hit as many locations. They can actually shop a larger product assortment within that store.
I think one of the things that's interesting about all of this to me is that it is, in a sense, big data, in a sense, because you're cataloging thousands, tens, maybe hundreds of thousands,
multiple
thousands. On a server, okay, and then now really what happens is it's just finding new outlets. It's like water; it will find it will find, as long as you have the big data. I have to say I've always been a little bit jealous of that, because we were very, we kind of came into this. Web for Retail came into this a little bit late to that party.
Right.
So it really wasn't such an option for us. By the way, folks, it's very expensive to build out these servers. We snap our fingers like this, but what you need to know is that all of this information sits on massive servers.
Many massive servers.
And and it really is about that sort of big data.
Right.
I'm kind of on the other end of that. We're kind of like, right now, we're streaming on Facebook, and we use or believe that we, are able to have access to, and in some ways take advantage of, the big data that you're making available to your clients.
Yeah.
So we find different ways to use that,
Sure.
but at the end of the day, you're the source of all of that, or there are other people who are doing this as well. But it is a big data play in many respects.
It's a big data play, and the more structured your data is, the more work it is to compile it. But there's big payoffs from a user perspective.
Yep.
When we look at on-site search engines, the better the structure, the better the search results.
Right.
So it's all encompassing. It's not just one effort. So we do a lot of efforts to make sure we have top of class content. And that's what people like about what we do.
Right.
We don't shortcut it.
Sure.
We're constantly, and by the way, in different categories, there's an evolution. So sometimes you got to go back to your database, fix the database to adapt to the new demands and the new way people are looking for content. And that's a lot of work.
Right,
people
of course.
Don't understand how much that work can be.
Gosh, it's incredible.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It's one thing to fix 2 SKUs, it's another thing to fix 60,000.
Well, and I think the other thing people don't know is that it's still, while it is very automated, big data, so on and so forth, it still takes human beings.
Absolutely.
You still have dozens of people working on these catalogs and such
I
to
have about
keep
50
them
people right now on staff. That's all they do.
And that's all they do is keep these things up to date and such, because everything's changing, and the vendors all have different feeds. Some of them don't have feeds at all. It's just throw it up in the air. Most of them don't. So it really is a collection process and so on. So, well, let's talk about I know you got to go back to your booth. What we're seeing in the future, like we're streaming live on Facebook right now. Social media is really big for my company. So maybe you could sort of weigh in as to how that plays along with what you guys are doing.
Social media is like we say in French, un incontournable, which means there's no way around it.
There's no way around it. You'd like to, but you can't, Bob.
It,
I knew you wanted to get around it in the beginning, but no, right?
But you can't get around it, and it's fundamental to, some of the most modern or popular backlinks are social networks. That's critical. It's one of the ways that the search engines measure websites, but it's also about unique content, and now with video on the social networks, it's an even more important play. I have a customer in the New York City market. He sells $10,000 grills because of his videos.
Of course.
Right. And it validates his expertise.
Yes.
It separates him from every other player in the marketplace, and it works. Right.
Yes.
It works in a measurable way. So so social is going to get bigger, and that's why companies need to come to the assistance of retailers who are just overwhelmed by how to do it. The time to do it.
Sure.
Retailers today, they're still unloading the trucks, merchandising the floor, answering unreasonable customers.
Of course.
And looking at their watches and it's 5 o'clock.
Right.
And they haven't done any of this stuff yet.
Of course.
So it's an opportunity for companies like mine and yours to come in and offer value-added services so that they can compete very favorably with some of the national players and some of the big box guys, and do it at a fraction of the price.
Very well.
Good.
Bob, thank you so much for stopping by the booth. I truly appreciate it. We'll be back in a bit with another interview, everyone.
Okay, thank you so much.